What's going on, everyone? It's Sean Mitchell, Denver real estate agent with Co-Listings, and this is your December 2019 real estate market update. And I'm giving a lot of thought to 2019. It's pretty much over, and I'm incredibly grateful for how the year went. It was the best real estate year for me in my career, and I'm just thinking back to all the wonderful people that I got to serve. So let's dive into how the market is doing. I get this question a lot. Well, what's it doing? What are things up to? Are we going to see a downturn? These are things that I hope to address in this video, as well as some questions that I've gotten from Twitter regarding the real estate market and solar energy. So first things first, we're going to cover median days on market, then single family months of housing inventory, then number of new listings and sale price, median sale price. Also going to cover mortgage updates for 10-year and 12-month, the Denver area unemployment rate, and going to take some questions from the internet. 19 days, that is the median cumulative days on market. That's how long it's taking for houses to sell in the Denver area, looking back at the month of November. And this is nearly a 19% increase month over month, so it's taking 19% longer to sell your house. And year over year, it's about a 12% increase. And you can see here that we've got peaks and valleys throughout the last 5 or so years. Nothing too noteworthy to mention in this particular graph, but it does give you a larger picture for how the market goes in summers as well as winters. How about single family months of housing inventory? This one was one that actually surprised me quite a bit. We're sitting at 1 month of inventory, and that's a 50% drop month over month and year over year. Typically this time of year, we see the inventory increase, not decrease. So this to me is an interesting data point to take a look at, and of course to keep an eye on. You know, at any point now, I'm expecting the months of housing inventory to actually go up beyond 2 months to something like 3 and 4. More housing inventory is definitely better for buyers. At the moment, it's still very much a seller's market, and there's just not a lot of houses available. And this is pretty typical for the summertime, where you see low inventory. Typically, we see an uptick in inventory in the wintertime because there's just not as many people shopping in the winter. Number of new listings, we're sitting at just over 2,100 homes. This is pretty typical for this time of year. In fact, probably in the next month or so, we should see this drop below 2,000 homes. And this 2,149 homes is about a 33% drop month over month, and just a little over a 9% drop year over year. We see similar trends for new listings. Again, the winter is just not a hot time to put a house on the market. There are exceptions to the rule, but there's a lot of people that just choose to focus on the holidays, spending time with family, and of course there's the weather piece that's a factor as well. It's not very fun house shopping in the winter time when you have to deal with snow in particular. Median sale price, $445,000. That's just a little over 1% drop month over month. But year over year, that's about a 6% increase. Now, that increase is not as great as what it used to be maybe 3-5 years ago. You can see if you look at the right side of this graph, it is tapering out just a little bit, and you're not seeing that exponential growth. It's okay that that happens because, to be quite honest, 6% growth year over year is probably a little bit more typical. When we were seeing double-digit growth, it was just very difficult in many ways for buyers. Great for sellers, of course, but buyers in particular, we're seeing a lot of people were getting priced out of the market and having to move further outside of the Denver area to get something that they could afford. What about mortgage rates? The 30-year fixed is sitting at 3.69%, the 15-year fixed 3.13%, and the 5/1 adjustable 3.39%. And here is a 12-month look back at what the interest rates have done. It's actually fallen pretty significantly over the last 12 months, and it's started to level out here over the last 2-3 months in terms of interest rates. But here's a 10-year look back at what has happened over the last decade. Interest rates are actually looking extremely well, in my opinion. I think that this is a great time for buyers to jump in. You should very likely get a great interest rate, assuming you've got good credit and got a decent size down payment to put down. And the unemployment rate is sitting at 2.3%. That's compared to a national average of 3.6. So the Denver unemployment rate is looking quite well in comparison. Month over month, that's a 4.55% increase in unemployment rate, but year over year, that's a 23.33% drop. So we are seeing an uptick month over month, but in reality, the unemployment rate for the Denver area in comparison to the older days looks pretty darn good. Now let's jump into some Q&A from Twitter here. This is John Hanna, who lives here in Denver. Shout out to John. What neighborhoods are popular for investment opportunities if you want to do an Airbnb? I think this is a fantastic question. Before I dive in, I think that there's a few criteria to make sure that you've determined for yourself, which is, what's your budget? How much do you want to spend? Obviously, the neighborhood will be impacted by what that budget is. If you've got, let's say, $1 to $5 million, you might be able to afford a very nice vacation home in the mountains and get those groups of people that are looking to get into the mountains and away from the city. But what I see a lot of people do is buy properties where there is a high density and high demand of short-term rentals. And that would be central Denver. And you can see the dots here indicate where most of the short-term rentals are at in the city. Now this is Denver County. I did look at some of the other counties and cities around the Denver metro area, and they were definitely not as densely populated for short-term rentals as central Denver. And if we want to take a look at what the return rate is, the average daily rate is $148. Occupancy is sitting at just under 80%. And monthly revenue is sitting at just over $2,600. So hopefully that addresses your question. If you want to talk a little bit more about that, John, just reach out to me and we can find some places that might work well for your budget and your interests and how much you want to bring in. And on to the next question. John Edward Garcia, what are the comps between similar homes that have energy sustainability products, for example, solar, wind, and battery storage, versus homes that don't? And average sale price, is a high sales price for the sustainability discouraging or encouraging buyers? This is a really, really great question, and I've done some research on this in the past, but I've never really put it together in a simple form that people can digest and understand. So let's go ahead and do this. I think this is a great opportunity to address this question. First, let's take a look at what Denver metro sales have been in the last 6 months to get an idea about what we're seeing as a common size of house. So let's take a look at sales of homes over the last 500 days. You can see the controls down bottom left, Denver metro area, single family homes, 500-day look back, and this is what we get. We get quite a few homes here that have been sold, more than 5,000, but it only shows me data on 5,000. The average and median in terms of beds and bath is 4 and 3, and sitting at somewhere between 22 and 2,400 square feet above grade or above ground. So we're actually going to use that as a baseline. Obviously, there are homes that are larger than 4 bed and 3 bath, and some that are smaller, but we're going to take the most common because it gives us the best chance of getting a nice data set. So if we drill down here on this 4 bed, 3 bath plus and between 2,100 and 2,300 square feet, this is what we get. We get a median list price of $489,000, a sale price of $485,000, or the list to sale price ratio that I like to clue into is the original list to sale price, and that's sitting at 98.49%, and it's taking about 17 days median to sell that house. Now, let's compare this data set, and I just want to make mention here that the number of homes here that we're looking at is 4,302. You can see that top left of the screenshot. Now, if we take these criteria here and we look at solar systems that are 5 kilowatts and larger, here's what we get. We get 34 houses that we can compare the sales prices to. And there are some interesting things here that I'll make mention of. For example, homes with solar sell for $5,450 more, or about 1.12% more than homes that don't have solar. The sale to original price ratio is 0.44% higher, and solar homes sell for 1 day faster than homes that do not have solar. Now, these are not overwhelming numbers, but still, if you're looking at this from a dollars and cents perspective, you are getting some of that investment back that you put into your solar system. And in my opinion, as someone who deals with electric vehicles and renewable energies quite a bit, I think this is a very nice marketing and selling point for a home, something that makes it stand out a little bit, something that can be used as a way to generate attention and interest in a way that maybe other homes don't. So let's talk about some of the upsides and downsides of solar. If you're thinking about getting solar put on your house, or you just want to understand what buyers and sellers might be considering, if you put solar on your house, there is most definitely going to be a reduced energy cost for you in terms of offsetting your energy usage with what you're producing on that solar system. Now, the amount of energy that you're offsetting very much depends on the size of the solar array, the positioning of your roof line, and how much energy you use on a regular basis. Energy independence. This is something that for some people is a really important thing. They don't want to be as tied or connected to the grid. Some people want to be completely off-grid. Others want to be a little bit more independent in the event the electricity goes out in the neighborhood. And lastly, clean energy generation. This is something that some people is a very important factor. And if you're driving an electric vehicle, you might want to power that vehicle with clean energy versus the energy that comes from the grid. There's more control over it, and you've got this good conscience knowing that you're powering your EV with renewables. Now, let's talk about the downsides, because there certainly are some things to consider on the downside. If you're selling a house that has solar, the loan on that solar, if you financed it, could be a deterrent for buyers. The reason why is they may not want to take on that loan because it increases their monthly expenses. Secondly, a buyer's loan may not get approved. Depending on that buyer's debt-to-income ratio, taking on a solar system that has been financed may push that person's approval for that loan above the allowable limit that mortgage company is allowing. And then lastly, buyers may not want the hassle of upkeep and maintenance. And believe it or not, there is some upkeep and maintenance that does come into play. One of the things that I experienced as an agent representing a buyer who went under contract with a house that did have solar was that the roof underneath the solar system needed to be replaced. And before the mortgage company would sign off on the loan, the roof needed to be replaced. And the solar system, before the roof could be replaced, needed to be removed, the roof replaced, and then the solar system put back on. That was not something that this particular seller was willing to do. And so my client had to back out of that contract and look at other homes. Next question comes from Kai. How many have solar panels? I'm guessing how many listings right now have solar panels? That's what you want to know, right? Well, the answer is in December 2019, only 14 houses on the market, regardless of size of house and price. This is mostly a factor of it just being the winter and it's a little bit slower, but even in the summertime, you're not going to find very many houses with solar on them. Cybertruck's Tent Depot asks, what's the range for a 10 to 20 acre plot of land cost in the mountains of Colorado? Good question. I actually haven't looked this up in quite a while. We can see here, this is where I'm pulling from. I tried as much as possible to get everything sort of west of metro areas along the Front Range. And we've got 141 properties on the market right now, ranging from $4,450 all the way up to $5.75 million. And the average lot size is 13.52 acres, the median 12.93. And that $5.75 million property, I didn't look at the photos, but you got to believe it's got some spectacular views. That one actually has been on the market for 2,718 days. That 10-acre, that smallest 10-acre plot, that's listed for $4,450 has only been on the market for 18 days. I actually like that one. I'm very curious to know where that one's at and if it has any views. Usually the lower priced properties don't have things run to it like electricity, water, sewage. Those are typically things that you would have to pay for and get them installed, usually at this price. If this property has those things run to it and is listed for that, I would say that's a pretty great deal. All right, that wraps up this December 2019 real estate market update for the Denver metro area. Hope you found it informative, and if you've got a question that you want answered on the next market update, feel free and put it in the comments down below, or you can reach out to me directly. If you are considering buying or selling, I'd love to apply for the job. You can reach out to me as well with the contact information at the end of this video. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful holiday, and I'll speak with everyone in 2020.